When I first initially realized that women were prescribed to cover by God in the Christian Bible, in the Torah, as well as in the Quran, which at that point I had only identified covering with Muslim women and nuns. I figured didn't nobody else cover their hair, you know what I mean? But I saw it as plain as day. So I had already, being an African American woman and being what some would classify as like Afrocentric or woke, before that was a thing. I used to do African dance and all of that. Like, I am very proud to be a Black woman and the legacy that entails. So I had already been doing, like, you know, the Erykah Badu, Alicia Keys type, you know, Jill Scott, India.Arie, like that was my vibe. That was my style already. So it was really easy for me to start wearing a headscarf all the time. And I started doing that. But even though I found that I agreed with, there were some things that I did not agree with in the Jehovah's Witness practice, like the whole concept of shunning and it, like with it being your children. I'm not really okay with that. I feel that if your faith is strong enough, you should not have to cut off familial ties. Like, hypothetically, if my child was to shack up with their partner, or if my child was to practice homosexuality, I'm basically supposed to cut my child off, never see them, never go to their house, never invite them over for meals. That was not okay with me. Coming from the experiences that I had as a teenager, even though me and my mom were at ends, my mother never abandoned me and never made me feel like I couldn't come to her. I may have put my own butt on my shoulders and was like, I ain't coming to you for nothing. But she made and still makes it clear that she is the number one person in my corner. So even though I did not have children at the time, my ex-husband and I had already started talking about having a family. And while I was studying with the witnesses, I did have a miscarriage, which was really, really difficult and really hard for me. And it actually pulled me more so away from studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses. But the red flags had already started to come up. So like I said, that was one of the red flags. Another red flag for me was, I don't know that it says it verbatim, but I do know it is kind of stressed on that you as a human should not, or as a person or as a believer, should not pursue higher education beyond what is required, high school, because it's like investing too much time into worldly advancement and comfort. Whereas you should be using that time to go out and witness and study and grow closer with God and focus more on the afterlife than the life. Also, the not voting, which I have my own, ideas about our government. However, I do also believe as an African American woman, people have died for my right to be able to vote. Being Black and being a woman, and also being from Mississippi, with my mother being an older woman. She was born in the 50s. And so I couldn't wrap my head around giving up my voice. I feel like if you don't vote, you don't have a right to complain. You know what I mean? You can, but if you're not even taking the steps that are given to you, whether they work or not, if you're not even taking that step to try to change things, then all the other stuff you do is just kind of irrelevant in my book. So I did not agree with that. I did not really enjoy going out and going door to door and witnessing because they kind of push you into it before you're comfortable with the amount of studying that you've done. So I didn't feel that I had studied enough or was in a place of knowledge enough to really be telling people that this was the way that they needed to go. Very much the same as I am now with my Muslim knowledge and my Islamic knowledge. I don't feel that I am the one to say, this is the way and follow me. I don't feel that I have the knowledge to do that. But, I have no problem saying what I believe and explaining what I believe to anybody. And there's a difference in sitting here and just telling you my story and coming up to your house and telling you that what you believe is wrong. There's a difference, so I wasn't comfortable with that. And then the more I was actually studying, I was seeing how much emphasis was put on the fact that Eve gave the apple to Adam. In my mind, you're telling me, witnesses, at this point in Christianity, because witnesses are Christians, Jehovah's Witnesses are Christians. I want to just go ahead and ixnay that sort of thinking that it's a whole nother religion. No, it's actually doing more of what Christianity says you're supposed to do, whereas most Christians are very lax and do not practice their faith. They just kind of do what they want to do and say Jesus Christ died for my sins, and then that's that. There's not really any responsibility for your own actions. So I'm studying, and it's saying that my husband is the head of the household and I should respect my husband, and that, he was created first and that we were created from his rib, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But you're telling me that he got the instruction not to eat from the tree of knowledge. But this woman came along, and it was said to me by somebody that was trying to help me study that, just imagine how beautiful Eve was. She was the most beautiful woman that had ever been created. She was created by the hands of God, and just da-da-da-da-da, and how he just basically was overwhelmed by her beauty, and so she manipulated him into eating the fruit, even though he knew he wasn't supposed to eat the fruit anyway, that God told him to she wasn't even created yet when he said, don't eat this fruit, but it's her fault, and she's the bearer and bringer of all of this heartache and pain and sin that's on man. That was like, I'm done. Because you can't explain it to me. Like, they could not explain it to me in a way that was satisfactory. I was working at Sephora at the time, and I was working in the skin department, and I met this wonderful, lovely individual. Her name is Rashida. Rashida and Lucy were the two senior people to me in the skincare world in Sephora. So when they brought me in seasonally at Sephora and put me in skin, they were the ones that really took the reins on teaching me what it is I needed to know about skincare, which they both did a fantastic job. So Rashida was pregnant when I got there with her third. She and I never really bonded, but she was really sweet, and there was something about her that just kind of drew me to her. One of those things was she was a hijabi. So at work every day with her Sephora uniform on, she had on a full headscarf wrapped the proper way, you know what I mean, covering. She always had on sleeves up under her uniform. She never really opted for the pants. Like there was a tunic and tights you could wear, or there was like a little button down short sleeve shirt with pants you could wear. But Rashida always would wear the pants with the tunic so that she was properly covered. I just always admired that, and I always thought it was beautiful. So when Rashida left for maternity leave, she was gone for a really long time, and something in me was just like, you need to reach out to her. You need to reach out to her. You need to call her, make sure she's okay, make sure the baby's okay, see if she needs anything. And so I did that. Rashida was very grateful to have somebody to reach out to her, because she was stuck at the house with 3 kids at this point. If you are a mother, especially if you are a stay-at-home mom or partially stay-at-home mom, like you only work part-time, which was the case for her, you tend to go stir crazy just talking to little people. Like you want to have a conversation with somebody that can use more than 2 syllables. Just saying, it gets a little, it irritates you. But, not saying that you don't enjoy the ability to be at home and raise your children. It's just you still want to have adult conversations. So she invited me over. We had a good time. She's Middle Eastern. She's Yemenese. So this was like my first Middle Eastern interaction aside from Muslim. When I got over, there was like cookies all set out and little snacks, and she had this amazing Arabic tea with like cardamom and milk. It was beautiful. But we just talked for hours. I did not have a child at the time, so I did not have to rush home, and my husband knew where I was and all of that, and it was no big deal for me to be out. And so we talked for hours and hours, and at first, we were talking about like really the similarities between Middle Eastern culture, like her having all those snacks and things out for us to partake in, and African American culture, which is very similar. If you go to anybody, any black person's house, whether it be Forsyth, Georgia, where my family lives in Georgia, or Kosciuszko, Mississippi, or Clinton, Mississippi, or, you know, out down in D-Lo and stuff like that. Like, excuse me. That's the Adon. That's what I was talking about. I used to freak my sister out. But yeah, so it's time to pray. I will be right back.